Okay, well, we have a quorum, and, what we are considering now is the Housing and Land Use Ordinance Update Draft, which Michaela has, been wonderful about keeping track of. We have worked on this, and we were getting bogged down in minutia. So in order to free us to do something, sure, please. In order to free us up to do something, we went over to the cannabis ordinance, and we don't, okay, we're out. You're gonna have to share. That's a horrible experience, I know, but I'll listen. Yeah. So, we went over the cannabis ordinance, and that went slower than I thought it was going to go, but we got it done, and we have, we passed that from the planning board point of view. We approved it, and what the next step is to have a public hearing on it. We can look at this. I'm wondering, I read it over just before I came tonight, and I said, yeah, there are a bunch of nitpicky little things we could argue for weeks and weeks about. Why don't we pass this? Because I think it's done. I think what we're gonna do is find out what human nature does once this is passed. Human nature is going to tell us, and it's going to be a statewide reaction, not just a Baldwin reaction. And probably the state government will react also. So we'll probably have to revise it anyway to conform with new state law. Yes, McGarry.
On that point, the state has already reacted to some towns' first response to LD 2003. One part being, I don't know if you guys ended up reading the exact language of LD 2003, but some of it is in a very legalese kind of way that's difficult. And there was different interpretations around the minimum size that a town could require an ADU to be, and the state is coming and saying, no, we cannot change the minimum size from 190 is how the state's interpreting it. So that is consistent with how we've moved forward here, so that's good, because that's like one of the biggest issues that's already come to light with how the state is doing different town responses to LD 2003. Some said 200, some said 400, so it wasn't conflicting with tiny homes, and the state's like, no, you can only say 190. So we are on the safe side of compliance with this version on that issue.
And this is the wonderful thing that Caleb has done for us, is keep track of state law and make sure that we're conforming to state law. And that's mostly what we've done here. So I'd like to ask the board how you feel. Can we go forward with recommending this to the town?
I just had one question about it, is why are we putting so much emphasis on the affordable housing development? Is that required?
Yes.
That's what, state requirement?
It is, yes. So the whole definition that on the first page, A through 2, is verbatim,
right,
including the 51%, which is silly.
That comes from the state.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay with the board for now.
Okay, but no, I'm just asking again. So that was my big thing. Was that paragraph there with 51%? I thought that was a high percentage. And then my other reaction to it was the affordable housing. We spent a lot of time on that, a lot of effort putting that dealing with affordable housing, but that's required.
Yeah. we asked the least amount of control the municipalities have with LD 2003 is the affordable housing piece. It's like, you have to use this definition, you have to grant a 2.5 times density bonus if X conditions are met, and these are the conditions that you have to use, so.
All right. Another question is, tiny homes are considered as a dwelling unit.
Yeah, so that is one difference from this draft from the previous one, so I'm glad you brought that up. So, before, I think it had been a board request to say a tiny home can't be an accessory dwelling unit. But there's no, it's not really an enforceable thing to have in the ordinance, because we're allowing ADUs separate or detached from the main residence, and they can be between 190 and 700 square feet. So inherently there's overlap between potentially an ADU and a tiny home. So when I was editing this latest draft,
Where was that on?
That is on, let's see, tiny home is 10.14. I didn't actually.
Yep.
So, it's right after the ADU.
10.13.
Okay, I see it. Okay, so tiny home can be an ADU and a dwelling unit, either or.
Yes, in order to comply with state law, that is true, and to address tiny homes, that is true, yeah.
Now, we had discussion about ADUs that they were only to be set aside for family. Is that still an idea, or can an ADU be rented?
Yes, and as I believe that an ADU can be rented if it's for more than 6 months.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, we can't limit it to just family.
Nope, there's no family mentioned in here.
Yeah.
All right, but a tiny home could be an ADU or
A primary dwelling.
primary.
Yes, and what I added in was, if it's the accessory unit, then it has to meet the accessory unit conditions, and if it's the primary dwelling, then it has to meet all the standards in your ordinance for a primary dwelling. So it's going to fit in one of those two categories, and therefore meet the proper code for either or.
Just refresh my memory, what is an accessory use as compared to an ADU? What's the difference?
An accessory use could be like a garage or a shed.
So it's not a dwelling unit?
No, accessory is
It's not where you, yes.
yeah, it's a more broad term. I mean, technically, an accessory dwelling unit is an accessory structure, but yeah, there are a lot of different types of accessory structures.
Okay.
So are we ready to go forward with this? How do you feel?
I think we're down to what we have in front of us now in
Yep.
most respects, and I think our work really comes in how we're gonna apply and work within the new ordinance, but I don't think we have a lot of legroom at this point as it relates to the ordinance itself. So I'm prepared to move forward.
Great.
So, motion to take the ordinance forward to the town, or to recommend this ordinance I think we
To a
do
public
have
hearing.
public hearing
Yep.
to, hear from the town on this ordinance. I don't think we have a lot more room in terms of how it's drafted.
Great.
I think our work becomes utilizing it in our everyday lives.
Yep.
Second the motion.
Do we have any further discussion amongst the board?
I wanted to add a specification to this ADU. I would recommend, I believe the ADU is 4 units, or it can be 3 units and one separate residence. Since our town ordinance says a standalone resident has to be at least 600 square feet, I would say if you build a standalone ADU unit, it would be 599 square feet or less.
So why don't we save that till the public hearing, Wes? You make the suggestion.
That'd be fine.
Okay?
Yeah, I hear that,
Yeah.
So the way we stand now, we after LD 2003 is people can build another dwelling unit on their property. How does that affect our growth ordinance?
So, accessory dwelling units are exempt from the growth ordinance, so they won't count as one of the 15 permits. But if you have, you know, your single-family home on your, on a 4-acre lot, under this ordinance, because say the density is 2 acres, you would be able to build a second primary dwelling unit, not just an ADU, but a second primary dwelling unit on your lot. That one would need a growth permit. So you have the allowance to do it, but you still have to get in line for one of the 15 growth permits.
So my thought is, the way our growth ordinance is now, you're only allowed 16 a year.
Yeah.
So
I'm
what-
pretty sure it's 15.
How does that comply with LD 2003? If we can only build 15, and there's 30 people who want to do it, it's like,
It's not an issue.
Yeah, it's not,
It's still in
yeah,
compliance.
they still can only, we can still limit it
Yeah.
to 15.
yep.
Okay.
Now,
But we can't limit it on an existing lot where somebody is adding an ADU.
yeah, it
That's not
basically,
considered part of the growth.
No, but I'm talking about dwelling units, if we
A
consider
new
it as a
dwelling
dwelling
unit.
unit, how does
Yeah.
that affect the growth,
Yeah.
our
It's-
growth ordinance?
basically, LD 2003 dictates more flexibility in where dwelling units can go, but they have not yet changed how the town, does the growth permitting for the unit. So
we
it's
would
the
still
same,
be
yeah,
limit dwelling units to 15.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Was we thinking about having a public hearing for this on the same night?
Let's get through this, and
All right,
then
so
we'll talk about
we have a motion, I think.
Yeah.
We had a
I
second.
second it, and
Yep, so we ready to vote on this?
Yeah, it's both parties.
Okay, all those in favor of recommending this, great, that's done. Now, public hearings. It would really be helpful, from my point of view, to have you at a public hearing,
Okay.
if you think you could do it.
Yes, I will have to double check the dates. What are you thinking?
Okay, so, Bob is our resident expert on how far ahead we have to notice public hearings. So if we went and put the, notice in the next,
Shopping guide.
shopping guide, that would be the 12th of June it would come out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do you have to go to, 10? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is Friday the 21st.
So could we do the 27th, our regular meeting when we were gonna do the other public hearing, or they should be separate?
Well, we could reschedule the other public hearing and do them both in the same night, I would think.
Because I never published, we deferred on
Yep,
finalizing our candidate public hearing date until tonight,
yep,
and with the thought that we may be able to do them together.
yep. So the thing that we could also keep in mind is being kind to our new CEO, Mike Lee, because, it would be nice to have the special town meeting follow as soon as possible after the public hearing. So there isn't a gap in time when we've got to follow the lack of ordinance. In other words, giving Mike an ordinance to follow, rather than have a gap where we're not in compliance with state law. I don't know really what the situation is, Fred.
I can get you a legal ruling on that if you want, from the town attorney.
Well, you may want it, not me. You,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, somebody's gonna want it.
yeah, somebody's gonna want it.
I think what he's told us is we're supposed to abide by the ordinances that have been passed in the town,
Yeah,
regardless of what the state law says,
yeah.
so.
So, if we had the public hearing, what did we say, the soonest we could have it really would be Monday night, the 24th of June. cause I can't see having it on a Sunday. If we had it Monday night, how many days between then and, a special town meeting?
I don't have it off the top of my head. Email it to me.
I do, somewhere in here,
And I can do Monday the 24th.
okay.
In the evening, I'm assuming, yes, I can do that. I can also do that Thursday, if you keep it on your Thursday schedule. I cannot do the Tuesday or the Wednesday.
So you must have emailed me, do you have a town account?
Just a Gmail.
Because R. Flint came up, 2017 was my last email from him.
It comes up Bob.
Powerflint 57 at Gmail.
Oh, at Roadrunner,
No, at Gmail.
okay.
Probably agree with that.
Okay. Meeting notices and.
It's tricky because just about every type of function has a different rule.
7 days.
From the
Let me
special
just-
town meeting,
Oh, special town meeting. is
from the
Sunday,
public hearing.
Yeah.
Notice, same as town meeting, and town meeting notice is not less than 10 days, it's 7 days. So, the public hearing is 10 days,
Josiah,
yes.
do you know if that's the same for land use issues, however?
I think he's talking about right now though is, you've already had the special hearing, which is a land use function. Then to call a special town meeting is a selectmen's, and it's all under that one.
It says special town meetings, advance notice, same as town meeting.
No, it's all.
Well, we'll keep on reading down the whole 2 pages here.
Can we notice it all at the same time?
Hearings are different than town meetings, is what it appears from here.
That's my question
Can
too.
we,
Land use regulation and zoning district ordinances, hearing, and then the requirements, not town meeting. There's no difference on the town meeting.
are we able to do our notice on the 12th that says that the public hearings will be this night, the special town meeting will be this night, and, can we notice everything in the 12th publication?
What I saw,
Or if we have to hold the public hearing before we can notice the special town meeting?
I
Or
didn't
can
see
we-
anything in there that said that.
So can't we just notice everything on the 12th, and we're completely covered for that week of the 24th,
Fourth, and then,
for everything, both public hearing and special town meeting?
so what we run into, that would be a special town meeting for the 1st of July. If we had the public hearing on Monday, the 24th, and we had to go 7 days.
Do we go,
Oh, I see what you're
do
saying.
you understand?
You're
Yeah.
saying is not put in a,
If we notice everything on the 12th of June, why do we have to wait for 7 days?
are your eyes good enough to read this?
Yeah, but Bob would know better than I do.
I don't know that you need to. The only question I would have is, are you ready to take comment at
And
the,
turn it
at
around
the
so
hearing
fast.
and
Yeah.
to hold those in, and are you gonna be able to do all that?
Well, my thought is this, the ordinance on the LD 2003, our hands are almost tied from this point. So the tweaks that, right? The tweaks we can make in terms of what the town's allowed to do versus what's mandated under the state law is limited. Am I wrong? right
No,
about
you're
that.
right.
There's a lot of things that the town can do differently than what the law says. The law gives some parameters, but it gives us a lot of wiggle room to what we wanna do.
So I guess,
The big things are
We should probably need a little bit of time between the two.
the size, like the maximum size of an ADU.
mhm.
And, I mean, we updated the recreational vehicle section and the tiny home section, and those are extra. But those are basically stating factual things about
Yeah,
them, so,
There might be some discussion on the table
That's
for
true.
permitted and conditional uses.
So maybe
Yeah, I
think that's
that,
very
okay,
easy.
I hear you, Bob.
What I would say is, I don't think you need to be in a rush to meet the 1 July date. If you're making good effort, and it takes a couple more weeks, then it takes a couple more weeks.
I don't think
We
so.
continue to operate under what we have, but I think you need to be able to take some comment at the,
I agree, and if we did it a week apart, the public hearing and the town meeting, we would have we'd have a planning board meeting in the middle there on the Thursday, perhaps.
A little tight to
you
get
have
it.
to,
Organized.
when we go to a special town meeting, we have to have a warrant, and we have to have what's going before the people.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, then I don't think we can do it all the same, like 2 days later.
okay.
Am I right, Lauren?
And I am not signing up
That is
for
absolutely
additional
correct,
duties.
yeah. So we
That's
need
enough.
time to get what you're gonna put.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's 38
I mean, I'll
NRSA
be
2523.
Right.
2523.
Yeah.
That deals with warrant articles and specificity thereof.
Okay, so if we have our public hearing on the 24th, and then when do people think we should, how many weeks should we wait?
2.
What's our first planning board meeting in July?
Well, here's what I have to say, is anyone on the board going to be helping Michaela with taking comment and developing the next version of the LD 2003? Not it.
What's our,
And I say that after having taken full responsibility for assisting Michaela with the cannabis ordinance.
Yep,
So I'm not saying that because I've done no work of late.
okay.
first meeting in July?
So the first meeting in July is July 11th.
All right, so we need to have at least one meeting to discuss the comments and make any changes that we need to make.
I do think Bob is right in that I don't think the state is gonna knock on your door on July 1st, because I think there are probably at least 100 and something towns that have not even started.
So we've done a good job then.
Yeah.
So we do have a planning board meeting on the 27th of June.
But we were talking about doing our public hearing on the cannabis ordinance that night,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's gonna probably take up a fair amount of time.
So if we want to do our public hearing, for both ordinances on the 27th, and
And
then,
then use our 7-11 meeting for discussion for ourselves.
okay,
What do you think about that? I don't know, I'm asking, I'm not rendering a position.
So 24th, we would have public hearing.
so now we're working on the 27th for the public hearing,
For both that.
for both ordinances.
All right, that works. And then we would have our first meeting in July would be the 11th.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody's gonna do anything the first week in July. Anyway, as the weather gets better, less people are gonna come out.
And we need some time to warn it again for the town meeting.
So, before we can notice for a town meeting, we've gotta have all the language done.
Right.
So we want to meet, and that would be the 11th, because we're
11th.
not gonna meet on Thursday, July 4th. I doubt we get very good attendance. So we meet on Thursday, July 11th. And if we put a notice in the shopping guide for the 17th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. July 23rd would be a Tuesday, and you guys are out anyway on Tuesday night, so do you want to have a special town? Is that okay to schedule it then? Okay. So July 24th for the public hearing and the 23rd for the special town meeting.
Hold the phone.
Let's go back up.
You said July
You said
27th,
July.
but I don't think.
June 27th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
yes. I can't schedule a special town meeting, that's up to you guys, I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna put a notice in the shopper's guide that's gonna run on June 12th. That's gonna be notice for public hearings on the June 27th evening for both ordinances,
Yep.
cannabis and LD 2003. Am I correct?
Yes. The cannabis ordinance, a link to the cannabis ordinance is posted on the town website
Okay.
for anybody who wants to look at it, and I will ask Robin if she would post a link to this ordinance also.
I'll send you a copy that's not half purple.
What?
Those were just the changes.
Oh, yeah,
that-
well, I need it electronically, yes,
Yeah.
you're right, thank you, yes. I've had, members of the board say that they really didn't like this every Thursday meeting schedule, and, I'm in sympathy with that.
I don't see how we could have ever accomplished what we needed to without it though, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know what's coming up, on our agenda other than Steve Wilkins' antique store in the old West Baldwin Grange.
Yep.
And, you know, all it takes is one person wanting to put up a restaurant serving alcohol, and we would be jammed for a while.
Yeah,
But if nobody comes forward,
we're okay.
you know, we're okay. So,
I think the other ordinances we need to look at, I think there's no rush.
The FEMA flood plan to allow people's insurances to be compliant, that does have a deadline on it, and I would like to keep that in the very forefront of our
Yeah.
agenda, and if there's something we can accomplish relative to that in short order.
yes,
There's some standard language for that
yeah,
one.
I have the standard language, and we can, see if we can get that out.
Cause
Take care of that.
I would, if we can move that through, I would like to see us do that as close to that deadline as possible, because it could help the one or two people it applies to in our town, but I hate to be the reason why they can't comply.
So that will be the next thing on our agenda.
Okay,
And after that, I believe the mass gathering noise ordinance is the next thing that we want to do.
okay.
And I think the other things were the growth management,
Right.
which is pretty basic, just adding in some stuff like ADUs don't count,
Yeah.
and then, occupancy, which is basic, and kennels.
Okay, great.
So, I think those are the things left, really.
And we can maybe play the scheduling by year. I mean, if we don't get any conditional use permits applications in front of us, we can roar ahead. But if we do get them, then you get a vacation, I don't know.
Good
Yeah.
week. So are we switching back, besides the 27th? Well, that might need to be on the schedule. Are we switching back to second and fourth, like your regular meetings?
Yes,
Okay.
Starting now, are we doing that?
starting now.
So I did email out that I can't be here on the 13th. should
Yep.
we have a regular meeting that night? And not a single soul replied to me saying they'd be willing to take notes for me that night.
Dawn will.
So I was
Dawn will.
wondering if Dawn would be, so, thank you, Dawn.
I will give it back to the Madam Secretary.
Thank you. I so appreciate that.
Good,
I
good.
tried to give as much notice as humanly possible that I could not be here on the 13th.
Thank you for thinking ahead.
Well,
Rather
there's
than
sometimes
not
I'm not
showing up.
gonna know, but that night I know I can't be here,
Yeah,
so
no.
I wanted to let you know right away.
Fine, great, thank you.
Do you want any sort of materials for the public hearing?
I think we should have like a brief presentation. Should we have a brief presentation by Michaela to just introduce what's there, or the link is on the website, everybody's been at all of our meetings recently, and we just let the public talk to us?
I wanna hear what the public has to say.
Okay, then I don't think you need any discussion.
Because, you know, then comes, you know, you get another bite of the apple when you have the special town meeting,
Okay,
you know, and, that, there's some people who feel nothing counts until then.
oh, okay,
You know, because it's all talk until you vote.
true. I understand the voting part of it, but, okay. But we do modify after public
Yeah.
hearing a lot,
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Could you make a comment on that?
Make a comment on which?
At the special town meeting, they don't get another bite at the apple. It's
No, no.
Up or down?
No, but,
Right.
that's what I mean, at the public hearing,
Oh, okay, yeah.
you can say, well, you know, it doesn't matter until the actual town meeting. I've heard that.
The town meeting, you either swallow or spit it out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So the next planning board meeting where we're doing something new is which?
13th.
No,
Mm.
no,
That'll be probably
No, it
Steve
won't be.
Wilson stuff on the 13th.
so on the 13th, we have Steve Wilkham,
That'll go quick.
it should.
So we can do
should.
FEMA stuff
Okay,
Thank
on
Okay.
you.
that day?
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
Look at this go. We're gonna be in compliance with stuff. Bob is gonna warn us how we're not doing
I
it.
wanted to make a plug for the subdivision ordinance update.
Okay,
Since 2019, or maybe earlier, we've been operating on a special printout of the definitions as mandated by the state, which are not incorporated into our ordinance.
Correct.
And maybe we ought to just, as a minimum, update the definitions, so you got them all in one spot.
okay.
Do you also need changes to that ordinance? I don't think that was on our list.
We probably will need some changes.
Can we take that, so we're not bound to address the entire subdivision ordinance if we commit to just getting our definitions in line, and then we could decide as a group that we're gonna address subdivision ordinance at a, like, future time?
Sounds good to me.
There might be a few where that some of the board members know just
Could you
one or two.
give us your thoughts, cause I would
Not,
love to
not
hear.
at the moment.
No, not tonight, but could you come back with,
I
if
could.
we're gonna do definitions, could you see us up on the
Yeah, there might be a
agenda?
few other things we might update.
Cause it's gonna be like 6 meetings where, I guess, right now I have PTO, so. But Dawn, you can convince me to bite off that if you think it's.
I don't think it's gonna be, you know, I think there's some other things we need to
Doable.
look at in that,
I think you're probably right.
which aren't major, but need some board discussion.
Could you bring like bullet points?
I can,
Thank you.
give me my thoughts.
I like that idea. And definitions, definitely.
Definitions, definitely, there's some other things in there.
One thing I'm clarifying, we're not trying to do the FEMA updates for this special town meeting, right?
Right,
Right.
right.
We won't have time.
Okay, so that's gonna be a different special town meeting.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a number of special town
I
meetings
think we're gonna need like
in the course of the next year.
6.
Okay,
We're trying to consolidate as much as we can, but
there's a lot going on, what can we do? Okay, I just wanted to
Us
check.
I
working
think
out.
the revolution for the, planning board and why a logjam is breaking, so to speak, is that, was the idea of asking for your help. Because we have failed at doing it ourselves. I have spent, and, we have spent, I don't know how many nights trying to write ordinances as a group, and it didn't work. And, you coming to help us has been wonderful. Thank you.
Has been successful.
Yes. Well,
Let's wait till the
So
town
far.
meeting.
yes.
Wait till the town meeting.
But I mean, we have something to speak to the town meeting. I feel like that's
That's a
success
success.
number one.
Yes, yes.
Now it's up to them whether they like it or not, but the point is they have something to think about.
Yeah.
So are we all set?
So let me recap. June twelfth notice for both public hearings on the 27th. On the 13th of June, our agenda is the Steve Wilkin, the antique mall CUP application, and we're talking about the FEMA
Okay? Yep.
update. On the 27th of June, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be the two public hearings. From there, we'll move into a regular meeting on the 11th. We'll figure out the notice for the special town meeting after we're prepared to discuss that.
Okay,
Is that correct? Did I get that right?
that sounds wonderful. Thank you, Trish.
And Michaela's gonna join us on the 27th of June.
Yes. And the 13th of June and the 11th of July.
Okay, thank you. And Joe is gonna give Robin the new draft of LD 2003 once he receives the electronic copy, and then I'll be able to say that both of the proposed ordinances are available on the website.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anything
There's a
else?
motion that's in order.
Really?
Yes, that somebody would like to make.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of adjourning? Thank you all very much.
Wow, that was unexpected.